Hello, a very warm welcome to the CX Green Room on this very special day, Valentine's Day. Welcome, everyone. If you are joining us, say hi in the chat so we know that you're there. Okay, all right, let's get started. I'm Claire Beattie, Senior Director for Thought Leadership at Genesis. My co-host, Ginger Conlon, Thought Leadership Director at Genesis as well. So the CX Green Room is a place where we get the inside track on customer experience, the big trends that are shaping customer experience today. Since it's Valentine's Day, we're focusing on the 5 love languages of customer engagement, and we'll explain them a bit more in a moment. But first of all, let's meet our guest. Joining us, we have Venesa Musovic Guillaume, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly, lead editor at Customer Experience magazine. So welcome, Venesa. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your role, and also a bit about CX magazine.
Sure. Thank you, Claire. So thank you, Ginger and Claire, for inviting me to join you tonight. It's a real honor to be in such a good company, I must say. So about myself, I am Serbian. I come from Serbia, where I spent most of my life. So Serbian is my first language. English is my second language. Somewhere along the way, I learned German, and recently I moved to France, so I started learning French. So my accent when I speak English is going to become even stronger, but this is what makes me authentic. And I'm a cultural anthropologist, so I'm really interested in what makes people authentic and how they tell their stories. But I'm also a design thinking facilitator, and I study user experience research and service design. So all of this earned me a role as the lead editor at Customer Experience magazine, B2B magazine, one of the leading magazines in the UK. So my role is to, together with our contributors, create narratives around CX. I should mention that I had the honor of being the leader of one of our biggest projects last year, which is our first printed issue of the magazine titled CXM Review, which was an enormous success. And I am a host of our monthly podcast, CX Lore.
Excellent. Well, we're so glad to have you here. And seeing as though you are such a big customer experience celebrity, and this is the CX Green Room, celebrities have that reputation for wanting interesting things in the green room. So tell us a little bit about your requested CX Green Room items for today and why you chose them.
Yes, before I reveal my CX Green Room items, I really must say that this is a wonderful thing that you are doing by asking your guests to tell something about themselves through an object. Because as an anthropologist, I can tell you that people prefer telling their stories through an object, an item, rather than if you just ask them, tell me something authentic about yourself. So this is really a good tip for anyone who is doing CX research. So ask your customers to tell you something about what they possess. So I was so spoiled, so I selected 3 items. I could not just select one. So first one was a piece of music by Aretha Franklin, one of my favorite musicians. So recently I got a gift of my first turntable, and the first vinyl that I bought was a vinyl by a record by Aretha Franklin. Then the second item is a book by Elif Shafak, a Turkish novelist, my favorite author. She is a feminist, a political scientist, activist, and really everyone should read her books. And my third item is a cup of tea, any kind of tea, because we drink tea in many countries and many nationalities express their hospitality through tea. So I thought like we are all in customer service and we can relate to this, what it means to be hospitable.
Absolutely. Well, we all have our cup of tea handy.
Always. Living in the UK, from the UK, always have a cup of tea very close. I also managed to find a book by the author Elif Shafak, and I don't know if anyone out there has heard of her. I've read about the first 3 pages because it just arrived a couple of days ago, but I'm already like completely hooked. And the story is about, so far, based on 3 pages, about a lady, and she passes away, and she has this kind of, the memory is surfacing in the 10 minutes after she passes away, and all these really rich, immersive memories come into her mind. It seems like a really beautiful story, so I'm excited. Thank you for the recommendation.
And thank you for buying the book. I'm doing such a good PR for Alif Shafak.
You really are.
Absolutely. Well, and since we are talking about relationships today and taking care of our customers, let's just hear a moment of a little bit of RESPECT, because giving our customers respect is so important. What you want, baby, I got it. What you need, do you know I got it? All I'm asking is for a little respect, but you just a little bit. Hey, baby, just a little bit. Woo, that was fun. Sorry to have to cut that off. And
I have never found
YouTube is playing
worked for my life.
the next commercial. Sorry about that. You can't pause here. YouTube just takes over. Anyway, so as I said, so Valentine's Day, it's about celebrating relationships and strengthening them. Galentine's Day, Palentine's Day, even whatever it is that you are celebrating today, it's all about those relationships. And so when it comes to customer relationships, organizations may not be giving their customers flowers and chocolate today. But that's okay, because there are other ways to show your love, and some not as high calories as the chocolate. So we surfaced 5 customer experience love languages that align with the original 5 love languages by Gary Chapman. And organizations can focus on these 5 customer experience love languages to build and sustain customer loyalty. So when you think about the original love languages, touch, we related that to empathy, because empathy, when someone feels listened to and understood, it's like a hug, right? So that connection there. Words of affirmation, we equated to personalization, because personalization, when you speak to your customers with relevance, or when you provide interactions that are relevant, they feel listened to and understood. Acts of service is like seamless omni-channel interactions, because you're where your customers want you to be when they need you. And quality time, we equated to first contact resolution, fast response, short hold times, because we want to take that action that shows we care about our customers in that moment that they're looking for that interaction to happen. And then receiving gifts is like proactive outreach and service, because we're taking action sometimes before our customers even know they needed something. So that is all the different ways that customer experience love languages can help build relationships, build customer loyalty. So Vanessa, I want to toss it back over to you and ask, what you have a great broad perspective from your position in the market. What are you seeing in terms of where companies, organizations are succeeding with maybe 1 or 2 of these CX love languages? Any good examples that you can think of?
Sure. So I will definitely focus on empathy, because I really believe that empathy is one of the major factors contributing to a positive customer experience. And we repeatedly get reports that show that businesses that have empathy at the core of their business outperform their competitors, and customers will always choose a brand that listens and understands. And really, to understand, you have to listen first. To listen, you have to ask good questions. So also this leads us to customer insights, research as one of the most important aspects of customer experience. But instead of giving you examples, I want to offer you a bit different perspective, maybe more philosophical, the editorial perspective, because my opinions are based on dozens of articles I read at Customer Experience magazine. So we publish around 400 articles a year. So this is at least 2 articles a day, so I read a lot. So I want to offer you 2 perspectives. One is more social perspective, and then the business perspective. So let me start with the social point of view. So in December last year, very important organization in the CX industry, which is the Experience Management Institute, published an announcement in which they said that they labeled the year of 2023 the year of empathy. And I remember when I saw it for the first time, I thought like, oh, this is interesting, because empathy is not a new thing in the CX field. We surely talk about it for at least 2 decades in business. So I thought there must be something this year that, is bringing empathy to the stage again. And in this announcement, the Institute said that they are selecting empathy as the leading idea of the year because of the constant uncertainty. So now for 3 years, we experienced this challenges followed by economic downturns, environmental catastrophes, and whatnot. So they are basically inviting communities, but also CX practitioners to go a bit beyond CX and the basic definition of CX and take a bit more responsible role in maybe collaborating with the governments, educational institutions, and media to also become part of solving a solution of some of the wicked problems, So I think this is a really important moment in the development of CX industry. If I'm brave enough to say this, I think this is a really, really important moment now here. And then the business perspective. I noticed that empathy goes hand in hand with another important term this year, which is customer vulnerability. Because of the challenges that I mentioned previously, more and more people are vulnerable, and it's not anymore easy to say who are the vulnerable customers. And we seriously need to redefine this term before we label anyone as vulnerable. But the point is that businesses now not only have to put empathy in the center of their business to understand who are the people who need the help and understanding, but they also need to enable their employees through technology, through softwares, to offer compassionate solutions. So this is somehow, for me, a moment of more mature application of empathy, where we really merge social science and deeper understanding of what empathy is and technology. But yeah, this is possible to be done through speech and tech analytics, artificial intelligence tools, and a lot of options there.
I think, and just to pick up on some of the things that you said, like during this time of like uncertainty, more people potentially, having more vulnerability, digital is incredibly important, but also voice is incredibly important. And Genesis research found that during the pandemic, the voice channel was so important. 1 in 6 consumers actually called the contact center just to hear a human voice, people having more complex types of interactions, needing that human touch. But at the same time, digital technology plays a huge role in delivering that level of empathy. We did a survey with the Economist Group, and it found that organizations that were really far ahead in using technologies like artificial intelligence, they were finding that it was identifying pain points in the customer journey. They also found that it was making the customer journey feel more empathetic, sensing and identifying what the customer is trying to achieve and being able to deliver that up. So let's turn it a little bit. All of these things happen and relationships go really well. What do you see as some of the things where, relationships, customer and the brands or the organizations that they're, interacting with, where do those relationships break down?
Oh yeah, I love that question. I'm experiencing something as a customer now, so I would love to share that. So I'll share an example from my personal life. So at the beginning of this conversation, I mentioned that I moved from Serbia to France, and currently I'm again in Serbia, where I have to close one of my bank accounts and open a new one. So I have functional accounts in France. So I can kind of observe two different CX approaches in two different banks. So while my new bank understands my life context, because I shared them that I'm just for a few weeks in Serbia and I kind of need this account open quickly so I can continue with my life. And they say, we hear you, we'll do everything we can so you have this figured out on time. While the other bank, the bank that I want to close my account with, is telling me that I have to come physically to their office to first submit a request that I want to close an account, and then to wait for another 30 days and go again physically to sign that our contract is officially over. And this is complicating my life, okay? So I have to prolong my stay here, etc. So now if we translate that into more CX terms, what I want to say is that I'm observing that customers want more flexibility and choices. And this is where relationship breaks down, because often brands are applying generic CX frameworks, and this is a mistake. And also another aspect comes in, which is the quality of information. So for a customer-facing role or any employee to give me that information, to comfort me, to save me from the anxiety and frustration that I feel, they also need to have information at hand. And Claire, this is again where technology comes in the game. So really, employees need information. And as a guest on my podcast, Ian Stochel explained, the quality of information creates either choice or anxiety. If a customer does not know anything about their data or information, they become anxious. So really, brands have here opportunity to not damage long-term the relationships by giving opportunities and flexibilities and choices. And this is something that I think we will see more in the upcoming year. Conversation about how to become more flexible at offerings.
Yeah, I love that. You wouldn't necessarily connect access to information with, something that you need, to make you feel less anxious. But, basic digital availability of information would really assist you in that moment.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we have research that shows that consumers appreciate it when agents have information at hand to make their experience more personalized and relevant. So
exactly.
it makes it easier to do business with you. It makes it more likely that the situation or query is going to be resolved, and you want to build that strong relationship. Translating back into the relationship conversation, because when a relationship is strong, it's because you feel listened to, right? And you know what's important to the other person in that relationship, even if it's the other person is a company, right? And so in customer experience, and you mentioned this, Venesa, organizations can use AI, personalization, journey optimization to show that they're understanding customers' preferences and then delivering those relevant interactions and experiences. And, that's just really the beginning. And those things are essential. But as you mentioned, as Claire mentioned, in this current market environment that we're living in and all of the other things that are going on, people are also looking to brands to care about them and what they value, and seeing that their values are aligned and such. And one of those things, you talked about empathy, you talked about vulnerability. Can you talk a little bit about, there's a lot of folks having a cost of living crisis. Like, what do you see as consumers expecting brands to be there for them in these kinds of times?
Yeah. Yes. So it is about, again, value creation. And it's interesting now to observe this, because, as you said, to create value, we really first have to understand who our customers are and also how they live. And now by this, I didn't say anything new, but if you just do a short experiment here and invite everyone on the call to close their eyes for a second and just to imagine a customer in the center of their service or organization. And now we don't have time to wait for that, but this is not my experiment, this is tested. Most of us imagine ourselves in the center of that service or someone similar to us. And this is not customer centricity, this is self-centricity, and this is a natural reaction because as human beings, we are all biased and we start from our needs. But what I observe is that this is also a mistake that brands are making because often other underestimated groups are nowhere there on the map. And we cannot assume that we all look the same, we all speak the same, and we all understand the concept just the same. And even in the context of inflation, not everyone is experiencing inflation. Everyone is experiencing differently, especially in different countries. So we need to invite more of culture insights into the game because now people are going to align their values around their wallets. So if brands are not going to bring this culture insight and do a proper representation, then customers are not going to select them as their favorite brands. So this is how I see also the industry shifting a bit in how we will create value, really. And I hope to see in the upcoming years more collaboration between social scientists, CX experts, and technology developers. So we really understand people, because often I see that we are just talking about one small group of people and that's it.
Speaking of a group of people that we should also be talking about on this call, I'd like to just get your thoughts on the employees, because they're so critical in delivering, those love languages to customers. How do you see organizations applying, some of these principles to their workforce?
Thank you for that question, Claire. Employee experience is one of my favorite topics, really. Everything that I shared about customer experience, I think should be applied on employee experience. Employees are also someone's customers. But what I want to stress out in the context of CX is that I really believe that first CX leaders should help and make employees feel like business people. And by this, I mean giving them all the possible information they have so they can do their work. Everything that we shared in terms of, having softwares and technology so they can understand how to offer that compassionate solution. Another thing is definitely one of the biggest topics that we are going to cover in the year ahead of us is well-being and mental health, because we really have some terrible and scary statistics about burnout and stress level, specifically in the call centers. So we need a solution for that. Again, technology can help if you have chatbots, more advanced chatbots that can reduce number of calls. So people in the call center don't have to handle that many requests. Again, as you, Claire, explained, technology that can support their compassionate solutions to the problems. And here I also want to mention that if you are going to practice empathy, we cannot just say to the employees, here is the script, here is how you react to a request of an angry employee, because empathy is a complex emotion, complex concept. And by psychology Daniel Goleman, we have 3 levels of empathy. First one is the cognitive level of empathy, which is understanding of the problem. Emotional is like a level of feelings. I feel what you feel because probably I went through the similar situation. Then compassionate level is I understand how I should react, so I help you. So we want employees to really practice cognitive and compassionate level of empathy, but we don't necessarily want them to feel what customers feel because they have to protect themselves. So I think this is what we should have in mind when talking about empathy and digital tools this year.
Absolutely. And I think that topic of like, well, employee well-being, we had a great question come in, a lot of employees are having to deal with complex questions and they're having a very high cognitive load again and again, these very complex questions, customers who are frustrated. We know that customer expectations are very high, and so if anything goes wrong, they try something, it doesn't work, and then they have to get through a second time, they're frustrated, which creates a big mental burden for employees as well. And I think we actually need an entirely separate green room to dig into some of these issues and tools that are out there. Before we go, because we are at time, we have another question, and I'll just throw this out. Maybe Ginger, you can handle this one as well. I love these feel-good ideas. Are these feel-good ideas, or do they have genuine business value?
Yeah, I'll jump in first and then pass over to Venesa. Customer experience, it's table stakes. If you're not treating your customers well, they're going to find someone else who will. And treating customers well is going to be different for different companies. I mean, customers' expectations will be different. If you think about the Apple Store and a store in the US called Costco, which is basically a big warehouse where you buy everything in bulk, right? The two of those companies are always really highly rated for customer experience, but their experiences are completely different. So you need to deliver on what your customers are looking for first and foremost. And part of that experience might actually be that, something is in stock, something basic is in stock, or it's out of stock all the time. But these are the basics. Treating people well and understanding what they care about and what they're looking for from you, it's just table stakes.
Yeah, you put it so well, Ginger. Nothing to add there, except that really it's about simplifying services as well. As you said, customers don't need a complex solution, just a few small things that will wow them, So no secrets there.
That's right. Sometimes a great experience that just includes the basics of like, you've solved my problem, is wowing them because maybe they didn't expect it was going to get solved on the first time. And so you don't have to surprise and delight to be delightful.
Yes, absolutely. And it's interesting in terms of omnichannel because we created so many channels for customers, but do they need them really? The better question is to find where they are and then offer that positive experience there.
I think just to kind of round us off, we also just recently concluded a research study that found about a third of consumers globally have switched provider in the past year over one negative experience. So then we asked them, how many experiences would it take you until you do switch? And between 2 and 5, almost 80% of your customer base is gone. So I think that just shows the business value that you can't afford to neglect some of these more human aspects of the customer experience that are delivered by people and technology. So we're at time. Thank you very, very much for joining us, Venesa. Really enjoyed this special Valentine's Day edition. Please do like, share, tag your colleagues in this live stream and join us next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. Bye.